Tabletopped will start after the following messages.
When four strangers meet for the first time, they unknowingly begin to unravel tightly kept secrets about their worlds. This place sucks. This realm sucks.
I don't mean to interrupt, but maybe speak about portals a little quieter?
You know how some people aren't really into science and magic mixing together?
That's just a story. Portals haven't existed for hundreds of years.
Armed with little true knowledge, but unfathomable curiosity, these four strangers set out in search of answers and form an unlikely bond.
I do see you, and I'd like to think that I'll be there when you're ready to talk about it.
He kind of relaxes for the first time around the group.
You keep putting yourself in danger for others, but who puts themselves in danger for you?
Join Ivy, Varys, Alara, and Ziva as they dive headfirst into the unknown. Follow us at Rainbow Dice Club on your favorite streaming platform, and find us at Rainbow Dice Club wherever you get your podcasts. Do you trust me?
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Tabletop. Today, we are talking about the new Planescape release. We have an expert and three idiots to talk about it. But who are the other two idiots other than me, your host, Nick?
Hey,
Hi, it's Shade.
Sorry.
Hey, whoa.
I get it.
Wait.
Frank was like, I get it.
I get it.
So good.
Nice work, Shade. I'm the three idiots and a baby. It's Franco.
And what about the other idiot number 3 over there?
Loose change coming at
Here we
you.
go.
Wow.
Here we
Never
go.
forget. Jet fuel can't melt these steel beams, baby.
Oh boy. Okay, let's move on.
You guys like that ref?
Yeah. How about you, the only smart one in the room?
I'm definitely one of the idiots too. My name is Shade.
All right, let's talk about Planescape.
Were you guys also super into conspiracy theories when you were in middle school?
No.
I totally missed loose change as a thing. Like the jet fuel can't.
Yeah, the
steel
9/11
beams.
conspiracy thing.
That literally was.
Oh yeah, you were like 5 years old, right?
Yeah, I was
Fucking
an
baby-ass
actual
baby.
baby. No, I was just like not aware of it until college when everyone would just say that as a joke, and then I was like, what?
though.
So I've never seen
What
Loose
is it?
Change. It's a documentary called Loose Change 9/11. That's
Documentary loose.
it's a conspiracy propaganda.
Okay.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Daniel, never
Loose
forget.
change.
Never forget. All right, so Shade, let's start this Planescape review. How you
Man,
doing?
what
bud?
a way to start that off. Planescape, man.
Let's step through a portal to an episode that
to a
started
different world,
completely normally.
Hi, welcome to Tabletop. In this dimension, it's hosted by me, a fucking idiot. Over to you, Shade.
All right. Hi. So Planescape 5e just 5e just released Planescape in October of 2023, and we're here to kind of talk about the setting and talk about the release as a whole. It's one of my favorite settings.
Now, isn't it not a setting, but all settings?
Oh, yeah, you're right. It is all settings.
Holy shit!
but-
I don't know if he's an idiot anymore. He might be the smartest of us
I'm
all.
precogging.
But in and of itself, it is a setting, which is really fun. I would say the setting of Planescape is really Sigil, the city.
And you
But
read this book in one setting.
I did read this book in one setting.
It's only a hum. So it only works in your accent.
Yeah. We have similar enough accents.
Sure.
So I'm looking at the map right now, and I'm seeing.
I don't know how to get to these places.
I've never heard.
I can't read this shit at all.
So I'm seeing a huge circle.
Let's get Foley.
With lots of circles outside of it, which are the outlands.
I see a rectangle.
Yeah, he's on the other side of the map right now.
So what are So can you tell me why or like how these all fit together?
Sure. Okay. Let's.
What? Yeah. What is a plan?
Let's-
What a plan?
No, Franco, he's definitely one of the idiots.
Let's
Just
escape
you and
this
me
place.
and oh god, it's happening to me
And
too.
loose change. Yeah,
So-
loose change, and we're two bits short of a whatever.
2 bits short of $1.
I think that Shade has been the only person to talk in a complete sentence this entire episode.
All right, that's par for the course.
Never forget. That's a
so-
sentence.
Okay. No.
It's a comparative
from
sentence.
1. What is a
What is Planescape? What is Planescape? I got you, buddy.
Planescape Kie.
Planescape is, like I said, it's a setting, but the idea originally, so it starts off with Advanced D&D Second Edition. In the 90s, they looked at the manual of planes and the DMG for Advanced D&D and said, okay, let's expand on this and really focus in on this idea of the planes and things like that. So
like the
plane,
Boeing company.
You
got
can't
involved.
expand and focus. What is...
Jesus Christ.
let's focus in on this subject matter and expand the ideas within it.
So are you like apologizing? You're like apologetic for AD&D, the most offensive version of D&D.
I have
You want to
AD&D.
unpack that a little bit?
I'm just fucking around.
Okay.
I do want to. So, because Planescape, the basic idea is like it's a little bit like Spelljammer in that it is all of the settings are reachable through Sigil, right?
So, yes,
Sigil.
Sigil,
Rhymes with
but
wiggle.
I will let you know
Wiggle,
that
wiggle.
they've softened that stance a little bit. Now there's an argument over whether it's Sigil or Sigil.
No.
just
Brennan
like
Lee
they did.
Mulligan said Sigil.
Yeah,
And
I saw that video.
I'm on the Brennan Lee Mulligan side of every argument.
I watched that video before coming to this meeting, so I'm
good.
fully prepared.
Good. I was very glad that he was there because I also am on most of his sides for arguments and.
It's Worcester, not Worcester.
But so Sigil is this city that sits inside of a torus, which is essentially a circle up in the sky, a halo. Actually,
It's like a donut, right?
yeah, correct.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
It's also a bull.
It's also
Small
a car.
different, but yeah.
Christ.
Actually, out of curiosity,
Sorry,
any of you play Halo the video game?
Yeah.
Yes.
No, yes, I
Wait,
did
is
for a
that where
little
that
bit.
comes from? I thought it was from like a science fiction.
I mean that is
Okay,
weird.
okay.
Yeah, but like that moment in the video game where you step out and you're like, oh shit, I'm in now. I see why it's called Halo because you see it
Yeah.
stretching up.
Hey,
That's-
this really goes back to the 9/11 thing because Halo is an allegory for the Iraq War.
Is it?
yeah.
Yeah,
No
Yeah,
way.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's
It's-
100%.
yeah.
Those
Guys,
aliens.
let's talk about that.
Yeah. So anyway, that's how Sigil is. You're inside this halo. It stretches around. You're on the inside bit. If you look left, you look right. You look up into something that looks like sky. You look down. Something that looks
Interstellar
like
had
planet.
a thing.
Every time I look
Yeah.
left, every time I look right, everywhere I look, I'm standing
in the
spotlight.
Okay. So Shade,
So, to answer your question about this map with all the circles,
Yeah.
Beautiful.
this is set in, generally speaking, Sigil is set in this planar idea of the Great Wheel, which is one of the D&D cosmoses, cosmological, like...
theories, I guess.
Yeah.
Philosophies.
Yeah, philosophy is a really good word for Planescape because that's
Really?
also what Planescape's all about.
Oh.
Philosophy. So we're going to dive into that. So the Great Wheel is, how you have your lawful good all the way down to your chaotic evil.
Yeah.
The Great Wheel is the outer planes, and each of these planes represents somewhere on that spectrum.
Okay.
So the 9 hells, that's your lawful evil, your abyss, that's your chaotic evil. So that's what all of those are. They're these afterlives, essentially, these planes of existence, realities. And somewhere in this infinity, because it is all infinite, it's infinities upon infinities, is a central place by which all of these planes can kind of be, these outer planes can be accessed, and that's called the Outlands. And at the center of the Outlands is the Spire, and the Spire is this infinitely tall spire.
Yeah.
And at the top of the spire, even though it's infinite, you can still kind of see it, the physics of all this is nonsense, right?
Mind
Yeah.
numbing. Like how to-
is the Taurus in which Sigil is. Now, Sigil is a city of doors, or the city of doors to be specific, and it has...
You only need one.
Yeah. It has all of these portals, and they go to various places in the outer planes as well as the inner planes. You can get to the material plane, to the Feywild, to the elemental planes, et cetera, from the City of Doors. And
there's a Wanderhome expansion.
yeah, and this is all not managed really, but it's under the desire and whims of the Lady of Pain, this enigmatic figure who is godlike, does not speak, and does not accept worship, and does not allow gods into her city. So she has the power to forbid gods, or the powers, as many people in Planescape or Sigil rather, would refer to them, powers, because there are many philosophies that argue that, well, what is a god? A god is just me down the line, right?
Yeah.
Back to that fucking episode.
Yes, it is. It's back to that episode, and I wanted to talk so much about that because
There's gonna be a part 2. Don't worry.
yeah, there is.
Fancy
But no,
with
this is 100%. That's that setting. So the ideas in the original Planescape, in addition to kind of expanding on the manual planes and things like that, that setting's really about dealing with the outer planes and the city of doors, because each of these outer planes represents a philosophy. Lawful good, chaotic evil. Those are philosophies.
Yeah.
How do you achieve those? What do those really mean? And there was a joke about philosophers with clubs, which was a double entendre of like people who are subscribing to these philosophies, who organize around them and try and can kind of wrest control of Sigil, the center of the universe, without being the center of the universe, right? While also being people who have clubs and will do violence.
Yeah.
So,
So-
I didn't know a double entendre could not be sexual.
yeah.
What do you know?
So
Wait.
one thing I want to know:
Like, is there like a nightclub?
There are
dancing
nightclubs.
and
Yeah,
shit?
absolutely.
philosophers with clubs. But I do want to ask a little bit more about the Lady of Pain sort of thing.
Oh, God, yeah.
So
You
Lady
would
of-
be into that.
I'm just really interested. Okay. The Lady of Pain, not a god, kind of a god. Can she forbid player characters, like any entity that she wants? Does she have complete dominion over this area, or like what's the?
Yeah. So she quietly hovers throughout the entirety of Sigil. You never know where she's just going to pop up.
Yeah.
And
Is she like essentially a personification of Sigil?
I don't have a good answer for that, because
Question
that's
mark?
She is enigmatic. That is the
Sure.
that is the idea.
Does she have a stat block?
No.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No.
This is what I'm talking about pantheons. You need one that you don't understand how it works.
Right. I mean, well,
Yeah.
but most, anyway, I'm going to, next time. So she can do certain things. So, for example, she doesn't allow worship of herself.
Yeah.
So
Very
she
damn
can
poor.
sense if that happens, and she will essentially beat you within an inch of your life, not just will pain upon you.
Mhm.
And if you somehow continue to anger her, she might send you to the mazes, which is just
Sounds pretty corny to me.
I saw that movie.
Are they children?
So the mazes are
And the wall
Kind
shifts
of
and you have to
a-
get out.
another.
Kills.
No, I'm not. I'm just
This
trying
is
to
going to be
continue
Shane's
on.
most
The
stressful
game
episode.
of this episode has become how do we derail Shadrick?
Yeah. So the mazes.
Just call him by his Christian name.
Yeah, my middle name. That's right. The mazes are essentially a infinite reproduction of Sigil in many respects,
Oh,
that are
cool.
completely empty. There's no. It's an absolute
Oh, like a
maze.
liminal space.
Correct. It's a liminal space.
Creepy.
It's
It's
an
like
absolute
backwards.
maze trying to get
Yeah.
trying to get just through it, you never starve, you never tire, you never.
Oh my god, it's like a fucking I have no mouth and I must scream.
Correct, because there's no one to talk to. There's no one else there. You
Nice.
are alone. There are rumors that there is a ever-shifting door throughout there somewhere.
Wow, this sounds familiar.
But you will, but you will probably never find it.
Is it a playable space in the source books? In these source books?
Yes
that are
and
just in
no.
front of
So
us?
there's actually spells that are revolved around that.
Ooh.
There is the maze spell.
There is.
Yeah, that's what
the
that
maze
is.
spell
That's
is?
where that fucking is. Kind of. It's
Kind of,
a
okay.
variant of it. It's where it gets
It's
its
like
name
a mage
from.
like heard
It's like-
about it and was like, I'm gonna make that.
Correct. Yeah.
That sounds horrifying.
Correct. It also plays on some other because there's a labyrinth. Anyway, I'm getting to.
But the
into
labyrinth
weeds here.
belongs to Pan. The lady of Pan.
The lady
Well,
of
I was
bread.
going to say
the lady of bread.
Gareth,
Um,
Goblin King.
No, it's a Minotaur guy. Anyway, I'm digressing big time. So
The movie's not very good.
One thing I want to ask about this, like the actual books that have come out.
Yeah,
recently.
let's talk
so, like,
about that.
The actual release that came out. Not only did it rejuvenate the setting, bring it formally into 5e.
Yep.
But it also came with a couple of adventures. It came with a book of monsters and like basically rule books wise, right?
So it comes with a setting book. So it's 3 books. This is very similar to the Spelljammer, and I'm gonna say out the gate. Sometimes I wonder if I was too hard on Spelljammer, and then I look at it again. The books that this comes in, very similar.
The books are very pretty.
Well, so I have, because I do love Planescape so much, I'm going to say that I bought this not only on Beyond, but also on physical copy.
The collector's edition.
Yeah, the collector's edition,
looks really
because they
nice.
brought back Tony D. I can never say his name right. Tony D.
I can't say the name of the setting, so don't worry.
D. Terlizzi, who was the original artist for Planescape, and it's this very distinctive style. He's also the author for the Spiderwick Chronicles. For those who may be familiar with that. Anyway, very beautiful books. I'm happy with the purchase, but
Hopefully, the pages don't fall out like my PHP.
well, I probably won't.
Is that a mechanized gelatinous cube?
Oh shit, Modrons.
Oh, it's a Modron.
Yeah.
What's a Modron?
Oh boy, you don't
pretty
know enough
funny.
about the planes, so we gotta. That's a whole conversation, and they play a central part in the Planescape setting
lawful
and in
neutral,
the book, and
Lawful
they
neutral,
work for Mechanus.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Which I thought
The
about making a
hierarchy that they have is like so complicated but simple.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
all like monodrome, like
Monodrones are the
duo,
bottom
try,
bottom ones.
whatever.
Yeah,
like
monodrones, duodrones, try something.
They're also they've kind of got some variants, but
so all of the planes that are listed, are they all covered in this book?
so that's a great question. No, not really.
Okay.
So
End of answer.
well, so the original Planescape books, and it's worth noting that there were a lot of releases. This was all back in the TSR days. Those got more into it because they had the manual planes and things like that. So there's a lot more meat there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
This, because, and I think I mentioned this in another episode, but 5e really started off with Multiverse as a central pillar. They kind of leave a lot of that to the discussion of the DMG.
Yeah.
But they do talk about the gate towns. The gate towns are these places in the Outlands wherein you can get to. They're really interesting because they're like right on the edge before you go into the next plane. So like the gate town right on the Nine Hells. They have to be careful because if they get too lawful evil in their practices, they become subsumed by the hells.
Oh, so I saw a video with Brendan Lee Mulligan
Yeah.
about like a town where everyone's like super great, but they have to go and slap the mayor
Yeah.
every month.
So it
that
works,
they don't
everyone.
Get sucked
Yeah.
into
Oh my
heaven.
god, that's so funny. I have a question
Yeah.
as well. I remember when Radiant Citadel came out, people were like, well, "What about Sigil?"
Yeah.
What's the difference?
I mean, that's a good question. So those people, it's very
Yeah, I know those people are
similar.
full of shit, but
Yeah.
I wanted to hear what the actual answer was.
It's very similar in
Yeah.
that, like, but to think that there's only one place that has a bunch of portals is
right.
nonsense.
Yeah.
It does not have a
This
basic
is an
understanding.
infinite
But the-
universe.
Yeah.
It seems like this is like this is how the Planescape works, whereas whereas Radiant Citadel was just a place that happened to have portals.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So Radiant Citadel takes place in the astral plane specifically.
Okay.
Sigil,
which is a plane that is off of that would be off of Sigil somehow, or no?
Sort of. So the astral plane, there are 2 transient planes in D&D lore.
So what I'm getting out of this is that this is like a lore person. Yeah, it's just like you just open the Ark of the Covenant and your face is melting off.
Transient planes. meaning they're planes that you travel through. They connect other planes.
Sure.
So astral.
So in D&D there are 2 of these.
It's so just like please let me get to the end of the explanation. I promise.
I promise this is cool and good, and I love it.
You just need to roll 20d6, guys. Come on. So the astral plane is the one that connects everything, specifically the outer planes, much like Sigil and the Outlands do. But the astral plane is like...
Is that the Astral Sea?
Yeah, the
That's
astral
the same
sea.
thing?
Same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, astral sea is the same thing. And then there's the ethereal plane, which is what connects Feywild, Ghosts, Shadowfell, Material Plane, those things.
Yeah.
So this is, I guess,
so those are the 2 transient planes?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, and so where is Sigil there?
So Sigil is in the Outlands, which is this kind of like nebulous thing that connects the outer planes as well.
But the outer...
It's like a central point between the infinite.
They're
all nested in the astral plane.
Okay,
Don't think about it too much.
Okay, so in the astral plane, it's separated by all of the astral sea, and it's like traveling through outer space. So you could visit Mechanus from the material plane. Wait, what is the material plane?
The material plane is really where outer space would be. So we're getting into weeds too much, and this is
that's what the book was about.
It is, but it isn't.
It's too big.
It isn't. Don't think about it too much.
Franco's been subsumed.
Here's the great thing,
this is
though.
actually how the Lady of Pain sends pain to the people who worship her.
Here's the big thing, though, and we will get into these weeds, but it won't be as painful, I promise, when we do my Ico Knights thing. But it's infinity upon infinity upon infinity. So don't.
That doesn't work.
It does, because there's infinite.
It is actually math. That is actually math.
That's math.
Math isn't real.
Set theory is a thing, and this is set theory.
Yeah, I was really fascinated with this explanation of infinity, that like it can be people think of it as a really big number, but then it's like, think about the space between numbers that is also infinite.
This is the thing that actually, so can I say one thing? So this is something that Dr. Moya McTeer, who has come on the podcast before, has talked to me about, and it like just fucking destroyed my brain. I was seeing her do a book talk about her book.
You can see it leaking out.
Yeah, exactly. This is what this goo is. But this guy was like, so if the universe is constantly expanding, then what are we expanding into? Boston people.
Sure.
And she was like,
I'm from Boston.
And she looked at him and said, I would challenge your thinking. What if it's not expanding into anything? It's just expanding.
Yeah.
And I was like, just completely destroyed my brain.
I mean,
I was like, it's getting bigger, but there's nothing to get bigger into. So like, what does that mean even? It's like,
it's a whole, So, and that's again,
I don't like it. Hey, talk about this book with its 300 pages.
I'm trying. These are the slimmest books I've ever seen.
Yeah. Why don't we do this right after this break?
Okay.
So before the break, we got a
listeners.
perfect understanding of Planescape, so that we can now jump into the books and what is actually offered. My first question is any of what we talked about in the first half actually in these books?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's
how
good.
much of it is there? Like, what does it give you?
Let's just name the books. So we've got Sigil and the Outlands. Cool. This is the setting book, and just like it describes, it talks about Sigil and the Outlands, which we've talked about.
Great.
How
many random tables does it have?
So
and which one of those are infinite?
Both of them.
Sigil is. That's interesting. Is Sigil infinite? I guess
I thought the Spire was infinite.
The Spire is, but the Spire goes up.
What's the Spire?
Wait, but the Spire goes up to Sigil?
the Sigil sits, and listeners won't be able to see this, but I'm essentially raising a finger and a vertical motion.
There's like a sensor bar over it because he's putting his finger into a hole.
And yeah, that's correct, actually. I'm doing that. Yeah, and that's how that kind of, but it floats above.
Can I just tell you right now?
It floats above an infinite spire?
Correct.
But it can't.
Yeah, well, hey, I don't.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you.
Can I just say, I just opened to a random page in this book, and I immediately was greeted by Plague Mort, which is the infinite layers of the abyss, and it is essentially like, if people know 40k, it's like a Nurglite existence realm.
No one knows 40k.
It's just like all plague and disease. And
I love that
really cool.
I love that Nick is like, I love Monster of the Week and PBTA games and stuff. Also, 40k.
And the thing about 40k too is like everyone's
No, we're talking about Planescape.
Plague
Listen, Shades like has thousands of years of knowledge of Planescape. I have thousands of years of knowledge of 40k lore.
40,000?
And if we want to do that podcast, we can also do that.
We should, but the Plaguemore is the gate town.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the gate town. Good. That was because you said that, and I was like, huh?
Yeah.
I thought that was the gate town.
So, yeah, it's not one of the infinite layers of the abyss, which also, if we're going to get into the layers stuff, the
Abyss
9
is infinite?
Correct.
Oh,
all of them,
right, the hells all
of them are
the
infinite.
abyss is the
abyss has
the 9
infinite
hells?
That's correct. So the abyss has infinite layers.
Yeah.
The hells have 9 layers, but each of those layers is infinite.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
But also, the infinite layers, there's something at the bottom of the abyss, which implies that there's a bottom of the
Correct.
abyss.
It's cake.
Yeah. So anyway, again, don't fucking think about it too much. It's infinite, and
It's
you're
all
never
I'm
going
gonna
to be
think
able to
about for the rest of today.
So,
Think about it too.
So Sigil and the Outlands does talk about Sigil and the Outlands very fittingly. It doesn't get into the planes themselves very much, but it'll talk about the gate towns. It'll talk about the Lady of Pain and the city of Sigil, and it'll also present you with some rules. Like magic operates a little bit differently in Sigil, for example.
So it's not purely a lore book. It also has like some
A little bit.
mechanical
Yeah.
like suggestions even. Maybe it's not like pure mechanics, but it has like, this is how this stuff runs here.
It'll have that. It also has some player options. The player options are not massively robust.
Okay.
So
in this book?
Yeah, in that book.
Okay.
Are they like feats
chapter,
and stuff,
chapter
or
one.
are they?
That's correct. They're feats.
Okay.
So they these are actually, so I will say I've seen some criticisms that like, oh, there's no player options. And yeah, it would have been cool to have had a Modron player race or some new subclasses and things like that. But you know what? Those feats, they slap. I love those feats so much. The feats that are, and to you had a question earlier off mic, Daniel, about, you know, or say, as you were saying, like they don't really have like feat trees.
Right.
This has feat trees.
Okay.
So there are 2 backgrounds and then some feats that go with them. And keeping up with the more recent tradition in D&D, they are saying, hey, when you're playing in this setting, you start with an extra feat that's attached to your background. And if your background doesn't already supply one, take one.
Yeah.
And I don't believe they limit what feat that is, unlike Dragonlance, for example.
Which was tough for
Yeah,
skilled,
correct.
I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
So that's what that particular book is. And then the second book in this is Mort's Planar Parade, which is their monster manual section, their bestiary. Lovely book, great monsters. It's, I believe, the thinnest of them. And it's also the one I probably skimmed through the most instead of really diving in, because I love a good bestiary, but also reading it backward to front to cover is always kind of like, no, I'm
Honestly, every time I get a monster manual, all I'm looking at is just the art.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This stuff's so fucking
It's
cool.
really nice. But there's some really fun beasties in there. The big popular one, of course, is the Time Dragon.
Check this guy out.
Shatter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to see.
It's a big old demon. The thing next to it, actually, Eater of
Yeah.
Knowledge. Eater of Knowledge is one of my favorite monsters in this. So the Eater of Knowledge, because I'm a big fan of mind flayers and bullshit like that. Eater of Knowledge is essentially
Godbrain. Whoa.
Yeah. The Eater of Knowledge. The Eater of Knowledge is like born as a result of the Mind Flayer God brain, and is there to essentially beat you up and absorb your brain physically and then bring it to its masters. Love those guys. They're nasty hulks. And then the third book is Turn of Fortune's Wheel, which is a very fun adventure. It's not, it's not the best adventure I've ever read in my life.
You told me that it went 1 to 17, though.
It does,
That's
which is
wild.
really uncommon.
That's a full
for 5e.
multi-year campaign.
Well, it's not. I would say You know what?
They skip all the boring levels.
It could be, but you're right. They do actually do some level skipping. So the conceit of Turn of Fortune's Wheel is that your players will be drafting up 3 character sheets, which are variants. Like one's your starting one, and then 2 variants, essentially, because their characters are glitches in the multiverse. For something has gone wrong. They don't know what happens, but every time they die, they immediately come back alive somewhere else in near proximity. And it could be one of their variants. It could be the same one, I guess, but it should probably be the variant, at least at the outset. Yeah. Until it gets to a point where either you've decided they've got to roll for it, or it's like, okay, well, your archer version died. What do you want to play now? Yeah. And then later they can come back to the archer version. And then I think that goes from like 1 to 10 on just trying to like figure out what's wrong with us. Why is this happening? And at the end, they will have a power jump up to level 17, which is pretty cool.
That's really cool. So this basically is a player's handbook, except without all of the how to run the game. It's just the setting.
It's more like a DM resource, I would say, the Sigil and the Outlands book. But there are like the DMG, for example, does have some player information in it that the DM can dole out. So the original Eladrin, I think, is for 5e is in the DMG, as well as the Oathbreaker Paladin. So that's where you would find that content. Similarly, there's content in the first chapter or so of Sigil and the Outlands that's for the player, and then the rest is really for the GM. But depending on what your player character is, your player may have all this information. So there, and it does address that. Like maybe your player character is a multiversal, like if you're playing in a setting and you're not playing Turn of Fortune's Wheel, maybe you're playing a multiversal character, this book's great for you. As far as my overall feelings on this book, or on this set, it's positive. I would say this set is better than Spelljammer. It could be more fun.
I love that you take every opportunity to just neg Spelljammer.
Yeah, well.
That's my favorite trait about you right now.
This is also a thing I would love to ask, is that like in Spelljammer, they had the lore, right? But which they have here. So what does this offer more than Spelljammer that you really like? Because I remember when we did that episode, it was like, this does not give me the architecture to run a really intricate. Not spark joy. Yeah.
So, and I think that might be a matter of simplicity.
Yeah.
So when we're just talking about like, repeatedly during this little episode, I have said, don't think about it too hard because it's incomprehensible.
Yeah.
That's a core tenet of this book. There actually is a note about that.
Yeah.
It's the rule of 3 essentially. I don't want to dive into that too much, but
after the reception, the first
but the same thing. Really, what it is screw it. I will bring it open. It's infinitely complex, but not. Trying to find it again real quick.
You know how to rule of 3?
What?
Charmed.
Charmed. Yeah, well, that's actually, it's funny you mentioned that because that's kind of what rule of 3s. So
it's exactly that.
It's exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where it comes from.
The CW's Charmed rule of power of 3.
Or it's the 3 truths of what they call it. The rules of 3s. Is not really what I was looking for.
It's like the rule of 2, the Sith. Stupid concept. Oh, there can only be 2, a master and an apprentice.
Because one will kill the other.
Because one's going to kill... What? How do you get more?
What about rule of 1, then I never die?
What about rule of a bunch of them and we all work together to kill the Jedi?
That's not how the Sith work.
Stupid.
The Sith are too individualistic.
Yeah, they're too emotional.
Yeah.
Right. So stupid. Star Wars is dumb. They should have never expanded it.
Yeah.
Like the original one was good. I'm just vamping.
Yeah,
The original one was good because there was like nothing. It was so open ended.
It
and
implied
was like,
that you were missing part of it that made it all make sense, you know?
Yeah.
And then they filled in those areas and it was like, this still doesn't make sense.
people. I just hate when I don't know, like they try to try to explain things too much, like movies or books or whatever.
That's some Emperor Palpatine talk, right?
Yeah, I was just listening to a writing podcast, and it's like, don't explain your magic. It's like stuff like that. It's like the more you try to explain it, the less fun and
unless it's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, and so and that's all the point I was saying. The exact words, and I read over it 3 different times before going, oh, hey, there it is. 3 truths. Infinite possibility doesn't mean infinite complexity.
Sure.
Keep things simple sometimes. So just don't, now.
KISSSSS to the infinity.
That's right. That works when we're talking about a bunch of fucking portals and infinity and stuff that you're just never going to comprehend. It doesn't work when we're talking about spaceships. I know, not really what spelljammers are, but come on. Spaceships and worlds and things like you need a little more. Yeah, you need a little more.
That's
grit.
more science than
just a touch more.
Isn't the astral sea like you can think your way through it or whatever?
So that's a whole other thing. Personally, I am actually. I will say I actually kind of like the cosmology that was put forth in the Spelljammer because I like the idea of the astral sea being a transient plane, but that's really more of a 4E thing. And Spelljammer way predates that and had this other cosmology going on, which doesn't necessarily work like that. It had this thing called the Phlogiston and these crystal spheres, and I did not like that as much. It's an interesting thing, but there are reasons I don't like it. I kind of liked the simplicity of that in regard to Spelljammer, but mechanically it just wasn't enough. You don't need the mechanics so much in this.
Yeah.
This is just all flavor.
Yeah. So my question here is the big thing for me when I think about buying these books is, one, does it give me something like enough meat to feel like I understand and live in the area?
Yeah.
And 2, does it allow me to homebrew a campaign within the setting?
The Sigil in the Outlands is perfect for that.
Yeah.
Will you be best served by also maybe getting some of the old 2E Planescape stuff? Absolutely. That's the lore there is still really cool and rich. Is this fantastic for someone who has only really played in 5e or is new to the genre and really is compelled by this instead of we're in a little town, little quiet village.
Every
day
episode,
thank you.
Every episode. Man, Beauty and the Beast. I gotta find whoever wrote that line.
He's gonna change his name to something monetary related every time. I'm gonna throw that in there every time.
I need a thing.
No one needs a thing.
I was just thinking, you have Karen, you have Monster of the Week, and you have I needed a system that's just mine that I come back to all the time.
I like 5e.
But he already has 5e. He likes 5e more than me. We can't.
That is true.
Lesbians.
I mean, I guess.
He only ran it the once.
But so this it does what it needs to. It gives you the basic information.
It's the basic chicken dinner.
Yeah. I am really satisfied personally with Sigil and the Outlands as a book, and I think Mort's Planar Parade does great as a supplement to other monster manual stuff that you might have. Turn of Fortune's Wheel.
Yeah. The adventure
Is a solid adventure. I have
because when we did Keys to the Golden Vault, we sort of had the F to A system, and this isn't about the quality of the book or the setting or anything, just the adventure and how it runs. You give a solid B, or
I would say it probably is in the B plus A minus range.
Okay,
leaning probably more on the A minus for me, and enough that I would hazard an A, but not an A plus.
So it's worth it. It's like a good.
I think so.
What about my star rating system? Michelin star.
Yeah,
style.
I know. I'm trying to think on because 3 is so.
3 is perfect.
I would say this is a 2.
Yeah.
Wow,
I would say
big.
this is a 2, which is pretty significant. And my whole reasons here. I mean, one, I am a giant fanboy for Planescape, so just give me more always. I think that this is going to do the thing that I've said before about 5e. This is going to introduce this setting to a wider audience, which is always good. And I think it would be a fantastic launching point for more content for Planescape.
But this is the thing that I wanted to ask you is with Spelljammer, they released the thing and then have not really supported it much after that.
Yeah.
Do you think that this is an attempt by them to start something that they can then support, or do you think that this is going to be requiring third-party sort of peripherals to get some more stuff out of it?
I mean, I don't want to get into Wizards' business practices,
Sure.
but the short of it is I don't think that they're going to necessarily do more of that necessarily.
Yeah.
So just pick up the 2 ebooks?
Yeah.
If you really want to run a full campaign
for
on
a
it?
while, yeah. Although I think that this gives you enough to start you off with a full campaign.
Like, is Fortune's Wheel like very like
Lore
we're gonna
heavy? Yeah.
well, no, I mean like railroady.
Oh,
like,
gotcha.
we're gonna take you from 1 to 17.
Yeah.
Is that sounds like a straight shot to me.
So there are. That's a good point. No, actually, there's a whole giant section of this book which is like they need to go out into the Outlands, into various gate towns, and that in and of itself is an infinite space, and any number of fucking things could happen. They could go anywhere, do anything.
That's true.
So it's just like gain experience kind of thing.
So when you say
I mean,
gain
like,
experience in the non-XP fashion.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like
So-
explore the worlds.
so when you said that this skips from 10 to 17,
Something like that, yeah.
is it like the 10 level stuff, it like caps at the 10th level stuff, and it's kind of like you should probably go to other planes for the next 7 levels?
No.
Or is it like we automatically level you up 7 levels?
It automatically levels you up 7 levels.
Wow, I hate that.
Well,
But-
there's a reason for it, and hey, big spoilers for anyone who doesn't want to be spoiled. I've probably already spoiled a fair amount for you, but I'm just gonna lay it out right now.
Yeah,
This is the spoiler for Turn of Fortune's Wheel and what's going on with your characters.
If you do not want to hear it, skip ahead about a minute.
I mean, you already heard. That's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah. Your player was killed by this.
Oh, I remember what you said earlier. It's you were already a level 17
Correct.
character.
You're
or
just
whatever.
reclaiming your former self.
Yeah, gotcha.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
cool.
still don't.
Yeah, that's fine. We all have different desires. I like
Yeah.
that's how at the end of with Portal and everything, I was like, you've sort of become this like the divine and Monster of the Week. That was me doing that. So yeah, I like it as a trope
I enjoy
sometimes.
it. Yeah, it's fun. Can be.
I will say this looks really interesting, and I feel like it has with like Infinity as a basis. You can pretty much probably do whatever you want in it. Like,
And that's why I like Planescape.
Yeah.
Planescape is the most D&D that you can fucking get. Like, you said it at the top, Daniel. This isn't a setting, it's the setting.
yeah,
Yep.
it's like
Actually, I said it's all settings.
All settings. I apologize. Well, I'm going to modify that then. It's the setting.
Like you can go to a gate town that's just all like one big dungeon and like there's a dragon in the middle.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that's-
Or
there
you
go.
can find that place.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's really interesting. So you think that this is for somebody who wants a new setting to explore or to take a campaign that was set in one of the other books and want to bring it into a more multi-planar, multi-dimensional level, that this is a really great book to do that?
Yeah, I think this is a good starting point.
Would you say it's better than that to do that than Spelljammer?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think you could marry this with Radiant Citadel pretty well, too.
Yeah. All right. That's awesome. Any final thoughts on Planescape?
I have one.
Yeah.
Will you just say your thing again about using Planescape as a basis for whatever that line that you just said?
So this is you can use Planescape as a basis for your
I use my Planescape as a drummer. As a bassist? But a bassist?
Oh, okay.
It's-
Instead of being not basis, but like bassist.
Like if you do a harder or soft, my Planescape
All right, this has
is-
been tabletop.
All right. See you next week.
I mean, we had a good run, guys, but I thought we'd get to the 100 episode mark, but here we are.
I'm gonna add a new thing on the Patreon that's like edit Daniel's jokes out of the podcast for $20 a month or something.
Wow.
I will walk off this set.
Wow, burn him to the ground.
Obviously, I'm
Jesus
just kidding,
Christ.
But if you are interested in supporting the podcast, you can go to patreon.com/tabletop. You can also go to our Instagram and Twitter. We also have a website where you can find all of these things, tabletopod.com. There's also a contact me section there that you can send us questions. We'll answer on the pod. Daniel, I love you so much. We'll see you next week. Bye!
Oh no, Dan's jumping over the table.
He's got an iron chair.
Oh, by God.
He's throwing him off the cage.